Can the T818 direct drive wheel from Thrustmaster convert a long-term Fanatec user? Well, Thrustmaster have sent me their stunning Ferrari SF1000 Simulator Edition with their low-tail T-LCM pedals to see if they can do just that. Let's start with the looks, and on that, I'm definitely sold. This thing is certainly a looker. I've never used anything this close to a real-life F1 steering wheel, and for that, it gets a big thumbs up from me. Every switch and dial that you see works. There's no fake plastic toggles whatsoever. This gives you, frankly, more input options than you could ever possibly need. In the F1 game, half of these inputs are mapped to just take you directly to a single page on the MFD, which isn't needed at all. But that's no bad thing. The more options, the better, especially if you drive a simulator like iRacing. The paddles on the back are great too. Their magnetics have a satisfying clunk.
Oh my word. Yeah, quite the clunk on the shifters.
Although personally, I'm not a huge fan of the slight noise that comes with this, but I know I'm in the minority on that. The clutch paddles feel exactly as you'd expect, smooth and premium. On the switches and toggles, the wheel does feel well made and solid, but unfortunately, it seems Thrustmaster scrimped a little bit on arguably the most important of them all, the D-pad toggle. I regularly accidentally press right instead of down, changing all manner of settings that I didn't intend to.
No weather for this, please. I keep accidentally scrolling down. I think it's my use of the button more than the button itself, but I could be wrong.
It feels cheap compared to the other really solid buttons, wheels and dials, which is a real shame on an otherwise premium feeling wheel. Now, onto the star of the show, that screen that sits front and center. When I was setting up, chat was telling me I need to connect the wheel to Wi-Fi and get the game send telemetry straight to the wheel, but to my surprise, in the F1 game, it just worked with zero setup required.
It's weird with the screen off, but obviously you have to connect that. I'm kind of surprised the screen doesn't have at least basic functionality without Wi-Fi, unless I'm being dumb. Oh, it does. Hold on. Oh, it does. There's a load. So that's all the stats you can get. That's actually pretty cool. All of the stats you can get in F1. Oh, that changes its color. There's so much info here. It's got access. You don't need Wi-Fi. What are you talking about? You don't need Wi-Fi. You just plug it in. With F1 at least.
There's a number of default options with lots of data, but by far my favourite was the screen that looked identical to the in-game wheel, with separate screens for tyre wear, tyre temperature, and engine wear. I'm not sure if this is made by EA or Thrustmaster, but whoever's done it, hats off to you, because this was a really nice touch. I hope it supports other games in a similar way. I should mention the quick release, which works differently to others I've used with a pull-out lever, but it seemed really solid and easy to use from my experience with it.
There you go. Now it goes in. Pull the clamp down, easy. Literally just flick that. It pulls out. Push it in, which is really loose, and then clamp that on like that, and then it's solid. Okay, that's a pretty good quick release. Pretty happy with that. And there she is.
I did have to assemble parts of it when it arrived though, which was slightly odd, but I assume that's because this wheel rim can be used with other Thrustmaster wheel bases. Alright, that's enough talk about the wheel rim. How is the force feedback from Thrustmaster's first foray into direct drive wheelbases? Well, I have to say that from the get-go, I was impressed. It always feels strange jumping between wheels because every wheel manufacturer does it a little differently, but I wasn't missing any detail or force from the very minute that I started using it.
I feel like a better exits on this wheel. Quite a bit better exits. Don't know if I do. We'll sneak two. I was going to sneak one, but we snuck two. I feel alright this wheel, you know. I genuinely think I might be a bit quicker with this wheel, maybe. It'll be close. Just about consistency for now.
There's a handful of settings available in the Thrustmaster control panel, which is built right into the Windows game controller screen. I would like to see more settings for those of you that like to tinker, but for me, I just like to use what the manufacturer recommends, so I didn't hate this. I particularly like this simplistic mode drop-down that can be toggled between comfort, sport, performance, and extreme. The idea is these modes will feel more and more reactive or alive the higher you put them, and you can clearly feel the difference between them.
I think that feels better. That's interesting. The modes are really clever then. When the game tells it to slide, like do a certain force, it just do it instantly, I think, in higher modes. Whereas in lower modes, I think it's a bit more patient.
However, no matter what settings I used, I couldn't quite get the force feedback to feel just how I wanted it.
You're for performance mode, you know, it feels muddy now all the time. It's mad how different it feels. Like, you really do just have to tinker for ages. It really feels very different.
I like a bit of wheel weight so I can really feel the car, which you can do, but that seems to make it really snappy when the car slides and makes it tricky to catch. This meant that if I got a bad tank slipper, the wheel was almost being ripped from my hands and it was really tough to correct the car.
I think the force feedback's a bit high on snaps like that. When it's snapping on me, I think it's a bit high because it's jolting me and not allowing me to... not allowing to catch it smoothly.
Now, I'm not sure if this was exclusive to me or I could actually tune it to my liking with more testing, but I personally would like to see high detail in the feedback without it being super reactive. I couldn't seem to find a balance between the two. With all that being said, this is not a bad force feedback system by any means. I was able to catch slides immediately, and I feel like the experience is just as good, if not better, than other wheels. Every manufacturer does things a little differently, and who's to say which way is right and which way is wrong? I'm sure with a little more time with the wheel, the way Thrustmaster does force feedback would feel completely natural to me. Now, before we talk about the pedals, I want to quickly talk about mounting the wheelbase. In the box, you get a mount kit with a mounting guide and even a desk clamp, which is really great to see. My only gripe is I feel like they could make it a little more intuitive for idiots like me that like to jump straight in without reading instructions. For example, I initially ignored the box labelled desk mounting kit because I was installing it in a rig, but it turns out you do need the mounting plate that comes in the box.
So I think you're supposed to use this plate even when it's in the rig. Surprising. Because, I mean, to be fair to me, the box says desk mounting kit. It doesn't say mounting kit, it says desk mounting kit. It's quite clear. Desk mounting kit.
Small things, but first impressions matter. However, once I found the mounting plate, installation was a doddle and it feels very secure when installed. I had no concerns about it coming loose or moving. Now, onto the T-LCM pedals. Those don't actually come in the box, you have to purchase them separately, but I thought I'd review this all as a bundle, as I suspect most people who are looking to buy this wheel will naturally buy the pedals from the same manufacturer. Just like the wheel, they feel really solid, with some nice metal touches that help it feel premium. The rest of the base is made from black plastic, but that doesn't make it feel any less solid. The throttle and clutch feel exactly as you'd expect. Relatively light, but with still a little bit of resistance so you can feel what you're doing. The load cell brake pedal is something that I'm not going to be able to talk too much about, since I've only ever used cheap potentiometer pedals.
Can't get the brakes right at all. Look, I don't seem to have a trail brake. I'm either 100% brakes or 25 or 33% brakes. Yeah, I don't think I'm a load cell kind of guy. I've spent so long with cheap pedals. I've always had cheap pedals. No matter the wheel I've had, I've always had cheap pedals. I think why I'm lacking in pedals, I'm making up for with the wheel and on the exits. Because I'm able to like that. I'm able to go in a bit deep, lock up a bit, and kind of just roll with it.
For me, I couldn't get used to it, and I think I personally prefer potentiometer over load cell, but I'm sure given many more hours, I could retrain my left foot. From what I could feel though, they seem really solid. They come with 5 springs with 4 different resistances, of which you fit 2. So there's a lot of combinations of toe to force available. There's also adjustable preload with washers for those of you that prefer very little travel in your brake pedal. The performance of the brake pedal seemed great. I had no issues, other than perhaps the slight quirk that you have to plug it in via USB to reconfigure them, then plug them back into the wheel if you want to keep things simple.
Well, that's it. I think we're ready to go. Apply that. Okay. Oh, good.
Overall then, the Thrustmaster T818 Ferrari SF1000 simulator wheel with the T-LCM load cell pedals is a fantastic choice. I was left thoroughly impressed with my first experience with Thrustmaster's first foray into a direct drive wheel. Honestly, all the negatives mentioned are sort of non-issues, except for maybe the frustrating D-pad. But if you're coming from an entry-level wheel up to this, you'll simply be blown away, and there's no doubt that all your friends will be impressed with this absolute beaut of a wheel rim. As for whether I've switched over from Fanatec, well, for now, I have put my Fanatec wheel back in the rig, purely because I didn't have time over Christmas to get used to the wheel and in particular the pedals. But it's a really great wheel, and I'm definitely tempted. Time will tell.